With so many cars on track, there's literally no let up in the racing here today at Oulton Park. It's time now for race 2. This one will see Group C and Group D going head to head. Up in the commentary box, it's Ian and Jack.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Pole position for this race in somewhat drier conditions than race 1 goes the way of Richard Lambert. Alongside him on the front row is Jordan Stilp. Matthew Davies and Brian Chandler make up row 2 with Charlie Charman and David Evans on row 3. We go on board with Jordan Stilp. He's alongside Richard Lambert as the lights go out. And who is going to get the best getaway? It's a rocket ship start from Matthew Davies, firing into the lead. And in fact, the two front row men have been swamped somewhat as we turn our way into Old Hall Corner for the first time. Out on the outside is David Evans in the 20 car. We go on board with Richard Lambert. A little bit of opposite lock as he makes his way down towards the avenue, gets clouted from the side, and I think that's David Evans, smash into the barriers and possibly out of this race. We're used to seeing Matthew Lambert out in this 12 car, but it's his dad Richard, the Porsche racer, who is out today, and he's out already.
He certainly is. Okay, leaders already making their way through Cascade, and a spinner there, didn't quite see who that was, but hopefully nobody will have collected that car, which is now on the grass on the left hand side of the circuit. We're sitting here on board with number 89 Paul Monteith on his way down towards the kink at Island. Now let's have a replay of the start on board here with Charlie Charman. You can see what a woeful start was made there by Jordan Stilp from the front row of the grid. He'll be very disappointed with that. David Evans made a good one, and who is that's coming through as well? That's
Carl Newton, isn't
Carl
it?
Newton in 28 car. Now let's see what happens to Richard Lambert here. He gets a bit out of shape, doesn't he? Just up front, and then David Evans comes across and clouts into the side of him, really, Jack.
Yeah, nothing I don't think Richard could do there, but this rocket start from Matthew Davies means that he is now a long way ahead of Jordan Stilp, who despite that abysmal start, quite frankly, lost a lot of positions, but that little incident at Old Hall means he managed to climb back up into second place. Then the rest of the pack makes their way down into the right-hander at Lodge Corner. There is the 46 car of Simon Goddard, and there is Richard Lambert. So he's obviously got going again and not got very far before realising the car's a bit bent.
On board there with Jordan Stilp, who didn't really enjoy his weekend at Castle Combe last time out. Had a big off in testing, in actual fact, and the team Rob Boston Racing did a good job to get the car rebuilt for the race weekend. Now, one driver who's had a fantastic first lap, I can tell you, is Ben Short. He crossed the line at the end of lap 1 in 11th position, having started back on row 16. He missed qualifying this morning, which I believe at the hotel his car got blocked in at the car park by a builder's van.
Well, this is turning into no regular tea break for Ben Short as he makes his way through Cascades out towards Island Bend. That was him in the white car with the checkered red squares on it. Moving on board a little bit further up the order with Simon Goddard, the man who started down in 8th position but made a pretty solid start as he turns his way through the left-hander. Island Bend a little bit out of shape, a little bit of opposite luck, not wearing any gloves. There is rumours that gloves are going to be mandatory in Club Motorsport from 2012, but nothing's been confirmed. You can see there he is driving barehanded, and behind him is the 100 car, which is again being driven by Alan Robson as he makes up towards the... we've got a car off there on the run up towards Britain's, and a waved yellow flag there too. So there's marshals wandering around, so I think something's gone down up there, but it's difficult to tell what. Out of the front, Matt Davies then leads Jordan Stilp, who leads Carl Newton, who's running pretty strongly so far today, it has to be said. Then we've got Simon Goddard a little bit further back. Carl Newton's best performance of the season so far is a 6th position, so he's currently on course to better that this weekend.
So down into His and the Knickerbrook complex they go then on. Was that Brian Chandler just taking a little bit of a shortcut there? Couldn't quite tell from that camera angle. It looked like he appeared over the grass, but I may have been mistaken there. 69 car coming through as well, which belongs to Matt Robinson. And over the crest of Clay Hill they go. There's Carl Newton then in that number 28 car. And some reasonable gaps between these cars at the moment. But look, here's Ben Short still pushing on after the disappointment of missing qualifying this morning. Looks like he's already got into a scrape or two on his way, and look at how he slides the car around, and someone spinning the car around there is number 45, and that's Gary Hufford.
Yep, he recovers, only loses maybe, well, about 3 positions in the end after his slow restart, and there's side by side coming down towards Lodge. But here is Ben Short now ahead of Matt Robinson. As we said, Robinson's got a good drive out of Lodge Corner, and as they crest Deer Leap, he's not quite close enough to make a move this time. Across the line they come then, the 2 red cars, and then it's the white car of Ben Short, followed by the black machine of Matt Robinson into Old Hall, and still no move being made. A little look up the inside perhaps of Alan Robson there for Short, but again, no move made just yet. Just behind them, I think, is Dan Malloy, isn't it, in that white-fronted car with the blue rear on the run down through the avenue and then left into Cascades. Here's Shaw's opportunity, and he takes it to slide past Alan Robson. The next man up in front of him is going to be Simon Goddard, I think.
Yeah, so on their way down Lakeside Straight towards Island Bend they go. There's Jordan Stilp making his way through, and then the 28 car of Carl Newton there, I think, in third position. Around this very scenic Oulton Park circuit they go. Windscreen wipers on some of the cars. Well, conditions have certainly improved since that earlier first race, but obviously a little bit of spray still for the competitors to deal with. A sudden shower may be just depositing its contents around Oulton Park. And there's that car off on the left-hand side of the circuit, then on the way down to Britain's.
I think it's Carl Andrew, isn't it, who possibly went off there on the first lap. An awful lot of curb being taken by Simon Goddard. That's not going to help his exit speed on the run up towards Hilltop. But Matt Davies is currently controlling this race very nicely. Stilp is lapping, they're pretty much lapping at similar times. You can see that Davies not really coming under any pressure yet from Stilp. Carl Newton in a fairly lonely third place. We've got someone who's gone straight on. Is that Dangerous Brian? It is, and we've got a couple more cars going straight on, so it's certainly perhaps getting a little bit slipperier out there, and it was Goddard who went straight on. He's still rejoined in the same position as they climb up Clay Hill.
Where Dangerous Brian leads, the rest follow, it would seem. On board with Simon Goddard then under the bridge that is en route past the water tower and towards the double apex right-hander at Druids, which of course is under the trees and therefore probably is holding a little bit more moisture around this part of the circuit than others, and certainly that seems to be the case because Simon Goddard really having to work there to keep that car pointing in roughly the right direction. He made his way around Druids in one piece, heading now down to Lodge Corner, but again still in the wooded part of the circuit here, so possibly not too much grip in the braking area. As there is Dan Malloy at the back of the group and Matt Robinson in that matte black number 6, well, it's glossy black actually, number 69 car, isn't it, that was on the podium last time out at Castle Combe. Here then is third place one, I think that was, with Dangerous Brian coming through next in that burgundy machine.
Yeah, he's not too far behind, although he's going to drop further behind Carl Newton if he keeps putting wheels on the grass on this slippery surface as we drop then down the hill towards the left-hander at Cascades. The field fairly well spread out at the moment because it's difficult to follow a car in these conditions, because there is still, well, there's less spray now than there was at the start of the race. Certainly a drier line perhaps beginning to emerge. We go on board in the 19 car of Laurie Grant heading down towards the right-hander at Old Hall, shifts it down into third gear, tries to take a nice late apex. Oh, he's being overtaken there on the inside. 47 I think is Stephen Craggs. Yes it is, going past him through Old Hall and then the run down towards the avenue. Further up it's Kevin Middleton losing out a position to the 68 machine, which is being driven by I think this weekend Ruggiero Pietrofesa.
Yeah, he was excluded from qualifying because of eligibility issues, so we had to start right at the back, and a spinner there in front of us, and was that 54 car, wasn't it, which is John Powell, I think.
Yes, it looked like it was Carl Newton for a moment, didn't it? Because they've got very similarly liveried cars.
That's my first reaction, but a bit further back down the order was that. There's Laurie Grant then. He started on row 11 of the grid for this one. He's heading up towards Shell Oil's corner now, and he's going to lose out there. Is that Craggs that's gone through? Yes, it is. So Craggs diving ahead there at the inside at Shell Oil's corner, and already he's got a couple of car lengths in hand over Laurie Grant, and they seem to be pulling away actually as they make their way towards Britain Chicane. Can Laurie Grant do anything about it? There's not really an overtaking opportunity here through the sequence of bends there, although we have seen drivers try and go two abreast through the chicane before. It is really a single file series of corners. There's Chandler again with the 42 car off. Oh, and Chandler off as well. Chandler spinning around there, but the first car I saw go was the 42 car of Charlie Charman, and now Simon Goddard. Where on earth is he looking? It looks like he's trying to do an auto test there. He was looking over his shoulder, probably trying to avoid Dangerous Brian's car, which was off in the barriers. And a spinner! That's the race leader at Lodge Corner. Matt Davies is off, and Jordan Stilp has gone through to take the lead, I think, has he?
Not quite sure, but Brian Chandler looks like he is absolutely well and truly beached there. He's not going to get out of that one. He climbs out of the car, and he is going to be out of the race. That's down at Drew, so he's quite near the exit of the circuit. He is fine, which is good to see, but we have got the safety car deployed. Yes, Stilp did make it through then at Lodge Corner after that spin for Matt Davies. Let's go on board with the car of Simon Goddard. He is following as we make our way into the right-hander at Druids. And yeah, the back end just goes away there for... yeah, no, this isn't Simon Goddard, is it? This will be Charlie Charman we're on board with. So he went off in the wake of Brian Chandler's spin. And Chandler gets towed out of the gravel. And hopefully we can get racing back underway pretty shortly.
So just one lap that the safety car has been out, then I reckon we'll get 2 more laps out of this race, and it's Jordan Stilp, 16 years of age, one of, if not the youngest driver in the field, who's had the pressure of leading the field around. I think he would have had quite a decent lead after that spin for Matt Davies, but that would have been eaten away, and Stilp makes a good restart there. He's already got several car lengths between himself and Matt Davies. It's still Carl Newton there in 3rd position. Also up there is Ben Short, now up into the top 4 from the back of the grid. An excellent drive from him, and Charlie Charman still there as well in 5th position, despite his off up at Druids a few moments ago. But Jordan Stilp already with about 4 or 5 car lengths in hand in that Rob Boston racing car over the 2nd place man.
And we've got a train of 4 white cars really, with various bits of red stuck on them. That is Laurie Grant losing a position on the run down towards the left-hander at Cascades. Not quite sure who's got through there. It looks like it could be one of the Shimmy racing cars as they head through Cascades now and out along, I think it could be Michael Rich that got past through the left-hander, but we'll wait for confirmation. Here's Matt Davies challenging for the lead up the inside of Jordan Stilp. Stilp staying to the outside line. You can definitely see a dry line emerging here at Oulton Park. So as they make their way up towards the chicane at Britain's, was that Matt Davies' perhaps last opportunity, because he's immediately after that little look he had dropped back from Jordan Stilp as they turn their way through the chicane, and Davies is going to need to be careful now. He's going to need to keep an eye out behind.
Stilp then continuing to lead on the way down towards the chicane at Hislop's and then Knickerbrook, but they're queuing up behind Carl Newton now in 3rd place. Can Ben Short make it from the back of the grid onto the podium? Bit of a lock up there from one of them. It may have been Charlie Charman, the ex-Mighty Mini racer. Meanwhile, Stilp now has a decent advantage that he'll try and protect over the rest of this race. And back in 6th position, it's one of the red cars, and we'll try and work out who that is in a moment.
It's Alan Robson, I think, who's running there at the moment as they climb up Clay Hill, and Jordan Stilp has managed to pull out a comfortable advantage over Matt Davies as they turn their way into Druids for the final time. That's a little look from Ben Short, and I think he's perhaps nerved Carl Newton into the gravel. So Newton, who looked like he was going to pick up his best result, a podium for the first time this season, unfortunately has been unceremoniously tapped into the gravel. But here's the race for the lead. It's closed in into Lodge Corner for the final time. If Matt Davies can get a good run out of the final corner, he may be able to slipstream his way past, but it looks as though Jordan Stilp has done just enough to see the checker flag and to take the checker flag and to win the 2nd race of the day here in the Ma5da MX-5 Championship. The rest of the field stream across the line.
And more significantly, that's Jordan's first ever win in car racing. He's following in the footsteps of his brother Dan, who was a regular winner in Caterhams in years gone by. And then another moment, I think, for the 54 car, that was, of John Powell.